This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Welcome to the November monthly partnership meeting of the Southeast and Caribbean Disaster Resilience Partnership, or SCDRP for short. My name is Heather McCarthy. I have had the honor and pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of SCDRP for about 2.5 years now. So here's our agenda for today. First, some updates regarding the SCDRP 9th Annual Meeting 2025 in Wilmington, North Carolina. The steering committee has decided on a theme. I will reveal that to you. We will talk about how SCDRP annual meetings are unique and take a sneak peek at the annual meeting website. And then I will share some needs and exclusive sponsorship opportunities. Next, a reminder to vote in the SCDRP Advisory Board election. Voting closes tomorrow. Then I will introduce today's super speaker, Dr. Shelby Servais from NOAA's new Climate Ready Nation office. Next, a reminder of our upcoming winter monthly partnership meetings and upcoming member opportunities. And lastly, we will wrap up with some partner sharing time. So please get your announcements ready. If you are an SCDRP member in good standing with dues up to date, then you received an automated and personal email from electionbuddy.com to vote in the current SCDRP Advisory Board election. So do not delay. The election officially closes tomorrow, November 22nd, and you will be voting for candidates in the state of Florida seat, the nonprofit organization seat, the local government seat, the federal government seat, and lastly, you will be voting for 2 candidates to fill 2 open academic institution seats. So voting is very quick and easy. Follow your unique link in the email and cast your vote today. Completely secure and anonymous. I cannot see who you voted for. Your votes are so important. So please help us choose the leaders to guide our partnership into the future. The SCDRP 9th annual meeting is coming up. Once a year, just once a year, we get together. So please join us in beautiful downtown Wilmington, North Carolina on February 4th and 5th at the Aloft Wilmington at Coastline Center Hotel. And I am so pleased to announce that the theme of this year's meeting is Cultivating Climate Resilient Communities, Advances in Communication and Collaboration. If you've attended our annual meetings before, you know that SCDRP's flagship event is not your typical conference. SCDRP annual meetings are different. Our meetings are unique and distinguished convenings marked by the attendance of diverse multi-sectoral professionals representing the private, academic, nonprofit, and public sectors from a very broad geographic region stretching from the southeastern United States across the Caribbean. So please spend 2 days with us. Enjoy close networking with top organizations working to make a difference in disaster resilience, recovery, and adaptation disciplines. Our SCDRP annual meeting website is up and running, and here's a sneak peek. SCDRP annual meetings are intentionally small, remember that. So during our gatherings, we all share in the entire experience together. High-level speakers remain accessible to everyone, and we have the time and the space for collective learning and collaborative development of ideas into future action plans. In order to ensure this, we cap our meetings at 125. So we have sold out for the last 2 years, so be sure to register early. And Claire's doing an awesome job updating the content of our website as the steering committee finalizes plans. So please check this website regularly for updates. So sponsorships make the SCDRP annual meetings happen, and we can't do it without our sponsors. So we offer 3 levels of sponsorships: gold, silver, and bronze, with associated benefits for each. I'll highlight the gold sponsors today. Those are the organizations that donate more than $5,000, and in return, they receive 3 complimentary individual registrations, your logos and links on all promotional materials, social media pathways, and websites associated with the annual meeting. And gold sponsors will be acknowledged during the opening and closing remarks and have 2 pages of marketing materials displayed in the annual meeting program. Gold sponsors also have the unique opportunity to set up a display table in the ballroom for the duration of the meeting to network with meeting attendees during daily Super Collider breaks. And a very special thank you to our latest bronze sponsor, Moffitt and Nickel. We have 5 exclusive sponsor opportunities available that I want to highlight today. First, we are in need of a $5,000 sponsor to help SCDRP give out 10 need-based registration scholarships to attend our SCDRP 9th annual meeting. The awarding of the 10 registration scholarships is a competitive process based on submitted essays, and we usually have more applications than we do scholarships. Our scholarships are most often received by graduate students and staff from small nonprofits. And being able to offer these registration scholarships is extremely important to SCDRP. We feel it is a vital part of building the next generation of resilience professionals. So please reach out to me at heather@socorro.org if your organization would like this exclusive sponsorship spot. Second, we are looking for an exclusive sponsor for our field trip to Battleship, North Carolina. On site, we will rotate in small groups to visit 4 sites around Eagle Island and hear from different speakers at each site. We will learn about the history, planning, design, installation, maintenance, and monitoring of the Living with Water projects on this vulnerable and significant island. We need a $1,500 sponsorship to rent a bus, so please reach out if interested. Third, we are planning in-person events in Wilmington to bond with our inaugural cohort number 1 of the brand new SCDRP mentorship program. And we have already heard from a new mentee that my first mentoring session was a life game changer. And we know there is much evidence that mentorship programs really do change lives. Would you or your organization be interested in an exclusive sponsorship of the SCDRP mentorship program? If so, please email me at heather@socorro.org. Our next exclusive sponsorship opportunity is supporting our keynote speakers. Our day 1 keynote kickoff speaker will be Dr. Amanda Martin, the Chief Resilience Officer at the state of North Carolina. As a longtime supporter of SCDRP's mission and former executive director of SCDRP, we are honored to have Amanda join us in Wilmington and share with us. Our day 2 keynote kickoff speaker is tentatively, she has said she wants to, and she's stuck in her schedule, is Vernice Miller Travis, Executive Vice President and Social Justice Lead for the Metropolitan Group. In order to support our keynote speakers' travel expenses, we thank the Center for Sustainable Communities for their $1,500 pledge, and we are in need of an additional $2,500. So please contact me if your organization would like to support our keynote speakers. Lastly, would your organization enjoy the honor of being the exclusive sponsor of an evening reception? SCDRP annual meeting attendees love extended opportunities to mix, mingle, chat, brainstorm, and cook up collaborative ideas over a few drinks and nibbles. But SCDRP funds, largely from federal sources, cannot pay for a catered evening reception. And that is why we look to external sponsors to fund our socials. As you know, receptions are expensive, so we are looking for a $15,000 exclusive sponsorship for an evening reception at the Aloft Hotel. And let's fill the room. Contact me to discuss how this exclusive sponsorship can benefit your organization. Reach me at heather@socorro.org. And a sincere thank you for listening and for your consideration of these 5 special needs and sponsorship opportunities. And now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's super speaker, Dr. Shelby Servais, you can wave, from NOAA's new Climate Ready Nation office will be presenting Building a Climate Ready Nation through NOAA's IRA and BIL investments, with a special focus on funding received in the Southeast U.S. and Caribbean. Shelby is the program analyst for NOAA's Climate Ready initiative, and she works to bolster NOAA's ability to provide products and services that support informed climate action. Previously, Shelby served as a project officer in the Department of Treasury's Office of Gulf Coast Restoration, overseeing grant programs targeting Gulf Coast restoration needs. Shelby was also a program specialist at the National Institute of Food and Agriculture and Science Policy Fellow at the National Academies of Sciences Gulf Research Program. Shelby has a Ph.D. in biology from Florida International University, where her dissertation focused on the effects of sea level rise on carbon sequestration in the Florida Everglades. So, Shelby, a very big thank you for taking time to share your knowledge and experiences with the partnership today. And now we will switch screens so that Shelby can share.
All right, thank you, Heather. I had to make sure I shared my screen before I started talking because I don't think I could have done both at the same time. Good morning, everybody. I am very much looking forward to my presentation today. I heard a lot of talk earlier about the weather in Florida, and I very much miss my days in Miami when it was nice and warm through the winter. Again, thank you, Heather, for the introduction. I appreciate the opportunity to present to the Southeast and Caribbean Disaster Resilience Partnership. As Heather mentioned, I'm going to provide an introduction to NOAA and our Climate Ready Nation initiative, and then I'll dive into NOAA's IRA and BIL investments with examples from your region. And I know there's a few NOAA folks on the call as well, so I'm looking forward to their feedback if they have any additional work that we're doing in the region that they'd like to highlight maybe during the question and answer session. To start, I'll go over high-level NOAA's mission priorities. In NOAA's strategic plan, there are 3 mission priorities aimed at building a climate-ready nation, making equity central to NOAA's mission, and advancing NOAA's work on the blue economy. These priorities are represented broadly in the work of our Climate Ready Nation initiative, as well as our BIL and IRA investments. And for those of you who are struggling with the government acronyms, IRA is the Inflation Reduction Act, and BIL is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. These are 2 big investments that resulted in unprecedented amount of funds for NOAA to execute on community grants, as well as other strategic investments in building out NOAA's mission priorities listed here. And, oops, I'm scrolling. As you may already know, NOAA has a wide range of capabilities and is an authoritative source of global environmental data that can inform and support risk management as well as decision making. For example, we have environmental observations, forecasts, disaster support, disaster and decision-making support, data assimilation, data management, and product and service delivery capabilities that span from local to global, as well as from daily to decadal. So we have a lot of services that we provide the general public, as well as particular sectors to make informed decisions relevant to their areas. To further advance NOAA's function as a science-based operational climate services agency, we recently had an administrative order titled Providing for a Climate-Ready Nation issued in May of 2024. And the NAO establishes the structure for aligning NOAA's capabilities to deliver climate services moving forward. The efforts described in this NOAA administrative order focuses on a 3-pronged approach, which includes NOAA's spectrum of expertise, relying heavily on our staff's capabilities in this area. Key mission or hazard areas that we're going to supercharge moving forward, and then critical partnerships, which could include some of the folks on this call and may already include you. I'll just touch on those 3 aspects briefly. The Climate Ready Nation initiative leverage existing NOAA expertise and emphasizes the need for scientific information and products derived from the data, but also highlights the importance of continuous engagement with our partners and the end users of that data. This will ensure the relevance of our products, and we plan to do regular assessment and evaluation of the processes and the products to ensure that the communities who use them are not only able to access the information, but also able to understand and translate it into actions on the ground. The NOAA Administrative Order for the Climate Ready Nation initiative also specified 7 key initial mission areas where NOAA leadership is particularly focused on improving our services, making them more accessible, and providing scalable and tailored information to local communities. Those areas include wildfire, drought, floods, heat, coast, marine resources, and mitigation. So look for some of the BIL and IRA investments to target those specific mission areas as well as we move forward. And finally, the administrative order encourages strong, diverse, and equitable partnerships and collaborations, including government agencies, businesses, non-governmental organizations, communities, key international partners, all of which will help NOAA exchange knowledge and identify areas for improvement for its applications. We'll identify additional needs, any service requirements, and learn new decision contexts that could benefit from NOAA information. And partnerships are essential in order to build the trust of NOAA's services as well as evolve those services. Oops. To that end, we have established several memorandums of understanding with key partners. For example, Department of Transportation, climate mayors, the American Society for Civil Engineers as well. And we're also trying to expand our reach to historically underserved communities through the Equitable Climate Services Action Plan that was released in May of this year. That has 5 key priorities: advancing awareness and accessibility for users of different backgrounds, ensuring data equity in our products and services, meeting local data needs, expanding climate services in a holistic way that considers social and economic impacts, and then creating an internal enabling environment for NOAA employees. One key part of this action plan was the promise to establish a climate services advisory committee, which we just published the Federal Register notice where we're soliciting members to join or apply to be part of this committee. So this is our first ever Climate Services Advisory Committee. The committee will advise NOAA on the accessibility and effectiveness of our climate services, which is data information science tools and decision support. The committee will allow NOAA to build a stronger feedback loop with our decision makers and climate service users, as well as individuals working in communities and critical sectors. As an independent body, the committee will provide NOAA with analysis and recommendation on how our programs, policies, systems, and structures, and processes and practices, basically everything we do related to climate services, how those can be improved to increase access and use of those services. So if you or somebody you know is worth sharing, this QR code will take you to the Federal Register notice. That would be greatly appreciated. The FRN will close December 20th, so it's open for a very short window, and we hope to identify members in the new year. So happy to answer any questions about that specifically at the end as well. All right, moving on to, I think, the desired focus of today's talk. NOAA's historic IRA and BIL investments enabled us to advance community resilience and reach new partners. I've added the QR code here to our Inflation Reduction Act website, which is the best place to start if you want to learn more about our investments. And then I'm going to dive into a few example IRA programs and projects within the SCDRP region. The Climate Resilience Regional Grant Program was recently announced their $575 million funding in 19 projects that focus on collaborative approaches to coastal resilience at regional scales. The funded projects will support climate resilience and adaptation actions that are appropriate to the plan, place, and people of that particular recipient. So one nice award that we have funded is to the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Planning and Natural Resources, and it received about $70 million to support climate resilience and risk reduction in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Their proposal included three main objectives: creating a climate resilient land and conservation park, implementing watershed and coastal improvement plans, and building out the education and workforce development opportunities within the U.S. Virgin Islands. So that was a key award of the 19 that were recently announced. Another IRA program, which is the first of its kind at NOAA, was the Climate Ready Workforce Program, which also included some technical assistance. NOAA invested $60 million to meet the emerging and existing needs of employers while helping workers find high-quality green jobs by investing in workforce training focused on resilience concepts, principles, and techniques, and ensuring direct hire promotion into jobs. So this one program was really focused at applicants who could prove that there would be job placement within their proposed scope of work, which was really key to the success of the overall goal to put people in new green jobs. One award to Protectores de Cuencas will develop new training curricula and identify existing training to support the coastal resilience workforce in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I'm sure some of the folks who are involved in your network may be able to provide additional information on that project, but it sounds like I wish I could go back to school and get a green job there. Another opportunity funded through the IRA investments is the Climate Smart Communities Initiative, which was managed or is managed by the Climate Resilience Fund. There are some active opportunities through the Climate Smart Communities Initiative for folks who may be interested. They're accepting new grant applications for communities to accelerate their climate resilience plans. And they're also looking for climate adaptation and resilience professionals to join their registry, which helps them match folks together with communities that need those types of professionals. The initiative will provide direct support to practitioners through training and offering structured support to cohorts of practitioners. It will build the capacity of local and regional decision makers to develop and employ climate resilience plans. And it will create this matchmaking process as well that I already mentioned. In one of the pilot projects that was funded, Charleston County of South Carolina received a small award to enable a systemic approach to flood mitigation investments and catalyze their climate smart community revitalizations work. Another project in the Carolinas that was funded through the Regional Climate Data and Information Pot of money through IRA is through our community heat resilience work. North Carolina received $2.3 million for the Center for Collaborative Heat Monitoring, and that Collaborative Heat Monitoring Center of Excellence is accepting interest in their community collection and distribution goal or distribution of data goals. So if you're interested, you might go to nihis.gov to learn more, or heat.gov to learn more. These investments will improve and expand efforts to advance climate information and services and adaptation capacity with various partners, which is why we wanted to fund centers of excellence focused on heat in across the US. The center that I'm mentioning here is based in Durham, North Carolina. Moving on to the bipartisan infrastructure law investments. Again, the QR code here will take you to NOAA's BIL webpage, which is the best place to find comprehensive information on our projects. The BIL page even features an interactive map if you want to dig deeper into our investments in your particular state or area of focus. I'll highlight again a few programs with example projects within the SCDRP region now. With this once-in-a-generation funding, NOAA will prioritize and fund transformational high-impact products through the community-based restoration program to make a difference for coastal communities and the ecosystems. For example, the National Audubon Society received nearly $500,000 to work in 4 coastal North and South Carolina counties to identify nature-based solutions that could be implemented to increase resilience there. The National Estuarine Research Reserve System is a network of coastal sites designated to protect and study estuarine systems in collaboration with and service to surrounding communities. They received some pots of money through BIL to support habitat protection and restoration through the Habitat Protection and Restoration Award competition. The focus for that competition was on coastal habitat restoration, including ecosystem conservation and planning, engineering, and design and implementation. Recipients are the reserve's lead state agency or an agency or university that are eligible through their partners. For example, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection received about $4 million to support restoration of hydraulic regimes in Rookery Bay. One anticipated benefit of that project will be the prevention of flooding through the preservation of stormwater areas in that project footprint. Similarly to the previous slide, the investments were also extended to the coastal zone management programs within the coastal states and territories. They were eligible for habitat protection and restoration grants as well. The focus again for the program was on coastal habitat restoration, including ecosystem conservation, habitat restoration planning, engineering, and design. And one cool thing to note is that between the two programs, the NEARS and the CZM projects, there were 5 initial projects that focused on land acquisition, and that resulted in over 5,000 acres of habitat protection, and that protection will result in flood reduction, water quality benefits, as well as recreational benefits. The project featured here was given to the Department of Natural Resources Coastal Resources Division through the Georgia Coastal Management Program, and they invested $1.3 million in land conservation. And those projects will have benefits to address the compound effects of coastal flooding, as well as high tide flooding, sea level rise, and stormwater runoff. So that's a really impactful program. And with that, I would like to thank Heather and the Southeast Caribbean Disaster Resilience Partnership for the opportunity to present to you all today. And I'll turn it back over to Heather to facilitate any questions that you all may have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelby. And now we've got minutes for some question and answer time with Shelby. I see some hand clappings coming through. So in order to pose a question to Shelby, please raise your real hand. If you have your camera on, please raise your virtual hand, or feel free to type your question into the chat box. Claire and I will direct questions to Shelby in the order in which we see them come in. Questions for Shelby? Any folks here that have received any of the projects that Shelby highlighted today? We would love to hear an update if you have. We're excited to see substantial funds coming to the Southeastern Caribbean. Okay. Let's see. I see Allison. Allison has some questions in the chat box. And first question is, how vulnerable are the U.S. Virgin Islands to sea level rise? And second question is, can you say more about what's going on in those islands?
Thanks, Allison. I appreciate those questions. I'm not an expert in the Virgin Islands and the effects that they're feeling from potential sea level rise there and the extent to that. I know there's some other NOAA colleagues on. I'm not sure if any of them are experts in that region either, but I'd be happy to connect you with somebody who would be able to better answer that question. We have tons of tools on particularly climate.gov or the resilience toolkit that help project or show what different levels of sea level rise might result in within particular areas. But yes, we are aware that the targeted scopes of grants do prioritize the effects that those regions are experiencing. So competitive projects were ones that address specific local impacts of climate change, and that is why the ones funding in the Virgin Islands are focused on sea level rise and resilience and planning.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. Thanks, Shelby. Is there anyone else here on the call today from the U.S. Virgin Islands or deeply familiar with the issues faced in the islands that would like to add to that? Okay. All right, we can certainly follow up and certainly uh, NOAA just released some new tools that I was looking at online, and I need help with the what it's called, but some new tools looking at predictions of floodwaters and certain scenarios in areas. And I know NOAA's been very excited to update uh, the database with the U.S. territories, both Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands, with some great new information and data sets. So take a look on the website, and if you're familiar, if you can drop into the chat box links if you're there. Oh, Matt Pendleton from NOAA, yes, new sea level calculator. That is what I was thinking of, and that is what I was looking at, and that is phenomenal. So hats off to the team that has been working on that. Please take a look, and you can hone in on U.S. Virgin Islands data. We have, let's see, another question from Adelaide. Shelby, thank you for your wonderful presentation. I'm curious how NOAA might ensure that planning activities for low capacity communities are implemented, or what support you all provide to help the planning effort to get all the way to the finish line. Great question, Adelaide.
Yes, that is an excellent question, and it's definitely something that the folks planning these programs have considered. In particular, you'll notice that some of these larger grant opportunities also include technical assistance, and that technical assistance will help those maybe lower resourced recipients have a better ability to have a successful project over the long term. Additionally, some of the funds were sent through pass-through entities, for example, the CSCI, with that passing through the coastal or the climate resilience fund. That pass-through entity will also be able to provide that level of assistance to some of the recipients of those sub awards, if that makes sense. So that's definitely something that we're considering. And additionally, the relationship between the project officer at NOAA and the grant recipients, there's a lot of work being done to convene those folks. For example, the Climate Ready Workforce, which essentially was just awarded recently. They're already convening their project leads this December for a workshop as well. And I think they're going to focus on the the designs of those projects as well as what types of information they're going to collect on the success of those funded projects.
Yeah, fantastic, and a massive effort. Um, I see also in regards to U.S. Virgin Islands, Ahira Sanchez Lugo dropped a link for a climate summary for Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands. Check that out. And I see a hand raised. Lindy, you have a question.
Yes, I just wanted to provide a little bit more information to the person with the last question about service to underserved communities in this resilient space. And I wanted to mention the National Coastal Resilience Fund, which has also had the benefit of bipartisan infrastructure and IRA funds over the last few years. And the focus of that program has largely been on making sure the funding is reaching those underserved communities and those historically marginalized communities. And the funding supports a pipeline of activities from planning and identification of resilience projects all the way through to restoration, implementation, and use of nature-based solutions to improve the resilience of our coastal communities. So that has been the benefactor of bipartisan infrastructure law funds for fiscal years 22 through this year. In fact, we're anticipating a soon to be announced slate of the 2024 NCRF projects very soon. So there'll be a new round of funding announced in those projects this very soon. And then in February, we will have another round of funding moving forward. So just a little plug to all of our coastal communities that are listening, that funding opportunity will again be available through NIFWF, our partners at NIFWF, in February or March of next year.
Fantastic. Thanks for adding to that background, and also thanks for the update on new funding coming down the NOAA pipeline. I appreciate that, Lindy. Thank you. One more question for Shelby. And let's see. Patricia Gomez from Miami-Dade County, that you said there's a QR code that you're having difficulty with. Which one was that? And maybe we can drop the link into the chat.
Yes, Catherine was so kind and already dropped that in. I apologize.
Thank you.
I'll have
No
to check
worries.
my QR codes. Yes, and definitely that gives me another opportunity to plug the interest in the solicitation for members of our new Climate Services Advisory Committee. I think folks with your all's background would be great candidates, as well as likely folks within your network. So please help circulate and consider either recommending or applying yourself to that opportunity.
Absolutely, and we will add that to our newsletter. We will add additional funding updates as they come in. And Shelby, would you mind dropping your email address into the chat box in case members come up with some questions later, would like to reach out to you to follow up?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Shelby. And thank you for taking the time to share with us today updates from NOAA's Climate Ready Nation office.
And real quick, there is one more question in the chat for Lindy. And Lindy, I know you're on your phone, so you might not be able to see the chat, but from Adelaide said, I work with a community that received a master restoration plan that was funded by the Coastal Resilience Fund. It hasn't moved to implementation, and I'm curious if some technical assistance may be available to them to help them get the project to the next stage.
Yes, I was actually able to join on the desktop, and so I answered in the chat there that yes,
I just saw that. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem at all. But just so you know, NIFWF has technical assistance for both applicants and recipients, so at many stages along the process. And Adelaide, please just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to connect you to the NIFWF program staff who can connect you to those resources.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindy. And thanks for that question, Adelaide, too. And That's why we're here, right? To make the connections, to move things along and push resilience forward in our region. So I appreciate Shelby, once again, thank you. Thank you for all that joined today and asked questions and contributed to the chat. Follow up with Shelby if you have any thoughts later. I just have a few announcements, and then we'll move on to some partner sharing time. So first, I want you to know we've got some upcoming SCDRP speakers. We're booked with webinar speakers until February. Please note the dates of our December monthly partnership meeting is moved up due to the holidays. So on December 12th, we will hear from Andrew Loeb Schoenig, facilitator of North Carolina Inclusive Disaster Recovery Network, or INSIDER for short, on the topic of community engagement. And he's hoping to bring one of his community champions that he has worked with to co-present with him. On January 23rd, we will be co-hosting with our parent organization, Socorro. Next, make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. All the announcements you heard today and many, many more end up in our weekly newsletter that you receive from Claire. Our newsletters are free to all. Claire has made many improvements to our newsletters over the last few months, including a very popular job board, collaboration corner, and she spotlights initiatives that we find exciting. We need just a few more to surpass 600 subscribers, so sign up via our website, and here's the instructions. Next, partner sharing time. What announcements do you have today? And I have seen a few come into the chat. Announcements from upcoming workshops, webinars, projects, funding opportunities. Okay. Many of you have gotten very good at emailing us your announcements, and Claire incorporates them into our newsletter and on the resources page of our website. Any announcements today?
We'll turn on my camera. Can you hear me? Sorry, I think my
Yeah.
mic was off.
Hi, Farah.
Hi. So we're having a State of the Science meeting in San Juan, Puerto Rico, to focus on our U.S. Caribbean and U.S. Gulf Coast fisher communities. That is March 3rd through 4th. We're hosting it with CDC NIOSH office. So check out the link and see if you're interested in going. A call for abstracts was just released and registration is open.
And Farah, did you drop the link into the chat box?
I did.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I see another hand. Ashton. Ashton, are you there? I can't hear you if you're talking.
Yes, sorry, I lost the window. I went to look for the link and then I lost the window. This was already in the newsletter, has been in the newsletter, but the Center for Collaborative Heat Monitoring, which is a new NOAA NIHIS Center of Excellence, has applications open now for communities to work with us on heat data collection projects. And we actually have a webinar today at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we also have an upcoming webinar on December 4th, also at 4 p.m. So I've linked to that's what made me lose the page. I've linked to our technical support page, which includes webinars and office hours. And I'm also happy to answer questions over email. So.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Ashton. And yes, I know there's a frenzy of initiatives going on with extreme heat right now to prepare for the next summer. And thank you for that update. Other updates from around the region? Okay. All right. If you have additional updates, you know where to find us, scdrp@socorro.org. Please send us an email anytime, and we will incorporate those into our next newsletter. Make sure you're signed up to receive our newsletter. And thank you for everyone for sharing today. And we will we'll further share everything in the chat and additional announcements in our next newsletter. So this concludes our November monthly partnership meeting. A very special thank you to our super speaker, Dr. Shelby Servais from NOAA, and thank you for joining us today. So I will see you in 3 weeks on December 12th. Thank you again and have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday.